Thank you, and good morning to everyone. Once again, we rise up early in the morning to do the business of the City of Portsmouth via the Economic Development Authority. And I would like to read our usual opening statement. In accordance with Governor Northam's declaration of a state of emergency due to novel coronavirus, Executive Order 51 on March 12th, 2020, and the local declaration of emergency ratified by the Portsmouth City Council, and due to the coronavirus pandemic, which is continuing in the Commonwealth of Virginia, this meeting of the Portsmouth Economic Development Authority is being held by video conference on the 15th day of September 2020 without a quorum present in the 6th floor conference room in the City Hall in order to reduce the likely spread of the coronavirus. Each EDA member is participating from their home. This meeting is being held in accordance with Portsmouth City Ordinance 2020-21. Notice of public access and participation to the electronic meeting was posted on the EDA and the city's websites, and comments to the board about this meeting were received by EDA staff via the portmev@portsmouthva.gov email address. Thank you, and once again, I welcome you, and we'll move right on into the agenda as we normally do. And we'll call for Mr. Moore to start with our roll call.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. We'll start with a roll call vote. Mr. Barber.
Present.
Ms. Drury.
Here.
Mr. Kovacic.
Here.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mrs. Saunders Smith.
Here.
Mrs. Smith.
Here.
And Mr. Smith.
Here.
Yes, sir, you have a quorum.
Okay, we'll proceed normally as we do through the agenda.
Yes, sir. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, which you all should have received in your packet on Friday. If you are in approval of the minutes, then we need a vote and a second, or a motion and a second. I apologize.
Move for approval of the minutes of August 18, 2020.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Saunders Smith. Thank you, Mr. Kovacic. Mr. Barber.
Aye.
Ms. Drury.
Aye.
Mr. Kovacic.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Chairman Smith.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. The next item on the agenda would typically be your financials. Again, as we've gone through this transition with the finance department, we are at the end of the year preparation for the FY 2020 audit. Staff is working with Cherry Beckert and their team and the finance department to prepare that audit. Typically, we would have that audit in front of you, I believe, by next month. So we are working towards that goal as well. I think we're just about wrapping this up. We have a few more things to go through, but we should have the audit prepared and ready for representation or presentation to you all next month. Any questions? All right, Chair, the next item, this would be under old business. Wanted to remind you all about your state FOIA training. That is due by December 31st. Lee sent you all the link to conduct the training. Keep in mind that there is a certificate at the end of that training that we need to have a copy of. So once you go through the entire training, there is an option at the end to print off your certificate. If we can just get that digitally, that would be great, just so we can document that everyone has taken that course.
Mr. Moore, just want to let you know, I tried a couple times to take the training. In the middle of it, it starts buffering when it gets to the public meeting, and it won't go any further. Now,
Okay.
I did this a couple of days ago.
Okay.
So I don't know if anyone else has had that problem or not.
I actually couldn't get on it. I tried yesterday, so I read the instructions and did everything they said about closing out certain things and all that. But if I can't get on by next week, I'm going to call the IT guy. His name is listed down there. I'm going to see if he can help me.
All right. And yes, we've reached out to Ms. Deborah White to let her know as well. I know there's some other individuals that have had some issues with regards to printing the certificate and things of that nature. So we are working through those. We have until December 31st, but you are not alone in that. All boards and commissions throughout the state have to take this training. So you can understand with everything that's going on and everyone being on the network and in the system, there's probably some bugs and some kinks that still have to be worked out, but we will take those down and forward those to Ms. White as well. Any other questions, comments? All right. Next item under old business, we will provide an update on our COVID-19 recovery grant program, and that will be done by Mr. Brian Donahue.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, and City Council liaison, Councilwoman Simmons. Wanted to provide a quick update on some of the progress we've been making with the disbursement of the CARES Act funds that were allocated to the COVID-19 Business Recovery Grant Program. If you recall, the program was launched back in July. I think the 21st of July was the actual official start date. But to date, we have received 51 applications through our office and have been working diligently to process those for funding assistance to support those businesses impacted by the COVID-19 health pandemic. To date, we have successfully approved 24 of those 51 applications with a total funding award of $242,000. We do have additional applications that are under review now. We're trending a 2 to 3 week review time just because of the influx of applications we received at the end of the first round, which ended August 31st. So we're now into round 2, which will end at the end of September, and then of course we do expect a third round for the month of October. So we have about $757,000 still remaining that we are working to get out to the business community. We have stepped up some of our marketing and notification efforts just to make sure that we are touching as much of the business community as possible to make them aware of the availability of funding and the program and our ability to assist those businesses that need support. So we have been working hard behind the scenes to get these monies out, and we have received an uptick recently. So if you have any questions, I'm certainly able to respond this morning. We will also be providing a deeper dive at your October meeting with respect to some of the statistics that we are tracking with respect to types of businesses applying and then demographic information as well.
My only question, Brian, is I thought we were going to try to have that deeper dive today, at least have some numbers. That was a request that was made. Is that difficult to obtain?
We are planning a larger kind of report in October. We do have that data. We had just not had an opportunity to go through the data to provide you an update today. Again, that would occur at your October meeting. And we think that in October, we'll have a more kind of comprehensive report as the data we've received to date has really just been for the first round.
Any other questions? Okay.
I'm sorry, can I ask, I do have a question. When we do get that breakdown, will it break it down by like types of businesses, what categories they fall into?
Yes, so the breakdown will be by types of business, so business sector, as well as the type of business with regards to small, women, minority, veteran owned. We could even break it down as far as if we wanted to, you know, the type of business, is it an LLC, is it a sole proprietorship, things of that nature. When we provide the information at the October meeting, you will have all of the data, essentially the spreadsheet associated with that we are utilizing with all of the information about the businesses, what they have received, and so forth. Again, as Mr. Donahue stated, the reason why we do not have that information right now is because essentially we would have for you the month of August, which was not, we hadn't received as many applications. By the time we get to October 20th, which would be your next meeting, we'll be really getting to really finalizing and ending the program, because the program ends October 31st. So we should have a more robust information for you at that time.
Okay.
Brian? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Are there many that are applying and not being approved, or having to be sent back because they didn't meet some qualification? What I'm getting at, are people confused about who is eligible, and so they're applying and not eligible?
That's a great question. So to date, of the 51 applications that we've received, we've had 8 that have been determined to be ineligible for the program. And that could be on, you know, depending on various reasons, but what we've been seeing is that some of the businesses have not been established for the period required prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. We've also had some issues with active business licenses and their status with the city treasurer's office with respect to fees and taxes, which we have been working with the applicants to try to resolve those issues in order to get them to an eligible status. But that's essentially what we've experienced to date. So 8 so far have been ineligible.
Just one more question, Mr. Donahue. How are people coming into the program? Are you able to determine, are they coming through because they were linked in from the website, or is it word of mouth, or is it some other additional advertising that's drawing people into the program?
What we've been experiencing, it's essentially social media outreach, which has been through either email or notifications that we've posted on our social media networks. So that would include LinkedIn, Twitter, city email distributions, and so forth. Those are generating the largest response. And of course, all of these are being received digitally, so we have a means of tracking them in the order they're received.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I do have a further question. Now, I'm sure the goal of this is not, we want to help as many businesses as we can. However, I would think that we don't want to send back a lot of money. So is there a plan if you have a large amount left and you don't think this is going to be the issue, whether you're going to increase what people get, or is there a plan in place?
So I'll take a stab at that, Mr. Donahue. We have looked at, and I've spoken with other directors across the region with regards to that same issue. We're all having the same issue because ultimately all of this money in some way, shape, or form will be a part of an audit done by the government as people receive these grants and PPP and EIDL loans and things of that nature. What we are finding is, again, that we all have companies that, while $10,000, is a good amount of money, it's a lot of these businesses have been inundated with paperwork, and so they are at a point to where they're concerned, about, the monies they receive, and again, the audits and things associated with them. When it comes to large amounts, we've looked at other opportunities to make sure we can give out an even larger amount of money to these businesses, especially a business, for example, let's say we gave out a grant to help a business literally change the inside of their business to deal with social distancing, so on and so forth. We are exploring that. There are other localities that have done that. We're trying to find out as best we can how well that's going. I can tell you that Prince William County is doing something to that extent, up to $200,000 for a business. Chesapeake is also just changed their program to do that. They haven't had a lot of traction, but they have made that an option. So we are hoping to get through this round in September, see what other changes need to be made. And if we need to call a special meeting to have that discussion, then we will. Right now, again, 24 applications have been approved. Out of 51, only 8 have been ineligible. So that means we still have, a few more in the queue that we need to get through, which could be potentially another $170,000. So we want to see how these things trend, and then we'll make some changes as necessary, but we'll certainly come back to the board first. Any other questions?
Robert?
Yes, ma'am.
Robert, it's Elizabeth again.
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't it true that we basically need to spend this money, or the city will have to send it back to the federal government?
Yes, ma'am. We do need to spend this money. So we are looking at ways out above and beyond just giving businesses straight grants. We're looking at, there's for example, the food bank has an opportunity to do some great programs in Portsmouth. Potentially other localities such as Richmond have utilized their CARES Act funding to assist them in putting up these food hubs and things of that nature. So there's some opportunities out there. We do not want to send any money back. We never do. So we're trying to figure out a way to make sure that we disperse this money as much as possible. Certainly the city has a number of dollars that we have to account for. We're working with interim city manager Pace to understand what we can and can't do. But it's still a process. And we have to be mindful and make sure that as we're doing things, we're still following the federal guidelines as far as how this money is laid out, and also what Governor Northam has stated as far as what this can be used for. So there's some catches in there. But also at the same time, you have a number of programs that are out there, which is why we changed our program initially, that could be more advantageous, if that makes any sense. So we tried to streamline this. We tried to make this as advantageous as possible for a small business here in Portsmouth that maybe didn't take advantage of PPP or EIDL when there's an opportunity. And we're pushing, another question came up from Mr. Mitchell with regards to, how we, where the inquiries coming from and how are we pushing this. So we are putting some advertising dollars behind this on our social media. So LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, to make sure individuals know. We're also putting out pushes in the pilot from a digital standpoint to see what kind of traction we can have. And at the same time, we're also literally knocking on doors and calling every contact we have to say this money is available. But from an average around the region, we are about where everyone else is at the same time. So we're all running into the same issue. $1 million is a lot of money, and that can help a lot of businesses, but at the same time, the businesses have to take advantage of this. So we're gonna do our best to get this out and get as much out as possible.
Mr. Moore, somebody's listening to us because the ad for this just came out on the city email that went to 15,000 people.
I planned it that way. Just want to be clear.
Mr. Moore, if I could just add, we're also engaged with our partners. So whether it's local business groups like the Old Town Business Association, the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce, the Black and Hispanic Chambers of Commerce for the region, we have engaged with those as well, and we'll continue to do that. Again, we're in the second round now, so we anticipate we'll have additional applications coming in this month, and then the third and final round will be in October. So our our hope and goal is that we will get as much of this money out as possible. And I think we're right now on a good track to achieve that. And we'll certainly in October have more information. I think better information, just because we'll have more data to report for you at your October meeting.
Any other questions? All right. Well, we'll go to the last item of old business, and that would be the GPDC Properties. If you recall, we have been working diligently behind the scenes to acquire some additional properties that were previously owned by the Greater Portsmouth Development Corporation. Those included the properties at Crawford Bay, also some additional properties on County Street as well as High Street. I am happy to report that you all are now the proud owners of these properties. We did close last week, week before last. But you all are the proud owners of the property, as well as the associated note. So we have budgeted for that for this property and for the note, which is approximately $88,000 annually, almost $89,000 annually. That is something that we pay monthly, so we will be working with finance and through our office to make sure that payment is made every month. We will discuss later the disposition of said properties. But we are very excited that these properties have been turned over to the Economic Development Authority, and we look forward to the opportunity to redevelop these and bring these forward in the development process with the city. Questions?
Yes, I have a question. I don't know if this is the place to ask this question. Are you able to give us an update on the property that I guess was purchased by Wawa? Because I noticed that they have not done anything lately with the project.
I can answer that question. Where we are is, you can understand, COVID-19 has changed the way a lot of things have happened from a development standpoint, but more specifically, people going back and forth to work. So driving vehicles, filling them up with gas, so on and so forth. The Wawa project is still moving forward. The Wawa project is on hold right now until they get a better grasp of COVID-19 from a standpoint of where we will be. And then within the next 3 to 6 months, they have extended their building permit for 6 months. They plan on starting back up either late fall or early part of next year. Again, they're trying to see how the things trend with regards to their developments. They have developments going on all over the region, but they are excited about Portsmouth. We have spoken to them continuously, and you should see something happening on that property within the next 6 months. Any other questions? Okay. Next order of business is new business, 602 5th Street, and that development agreement. You will recall several, and this is more of an update, several months ago, actually, I think last year, we started the discussion. Collins Machine Works out of, which is headquartered in Portsmouth on Sire Road, did relocate to 702 5th Street. They still have their location at Sire Road, but they moved their corporate headquarters to 702 5th Street. They did come before the EDA with an LOI and a development agreement to acquire 602 5th Street for the assessed value on the property. We have worked, again, with COVID and so forth. We worked through all the processes, and I'm happy to report that that development agreement is moving forward. And 602 5th Street will be under contract and moving towards redevelopment here soon. This is a CDBG property, so selling it at assessed value, which I do not have that right in front of me what that value is. Mr. Donahue, you may be able to tell me.
I can. It's just over 233,000. It's actually 233,730 is the assessed value.
So we are selling it for that amount. And again, that's CDBG, so that money will go back essentially you all will not receive that, will go back into the CDBG pot. But we are excited that that is moving forward. We're working out a few more details, but that is moving forward, and hopefully we will have that sold here within the next 6 to 9 months.
Have they said what their plans are for it exactly?
Yes, so essentially they need more space. So they will look to expand their headquarters, add additional jobs, and add more square footage to the building. You can understand that they are a contractor, a military and Navy contractor, working on ship parts and things of that nature. So they need more space to conduct that work. So we are working with them now with regards to the size of that addition, as well as the number of jobs they will be creating.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Last order of new business. We have typically by this time, we would have already had right around February, March, our annual retreat. And I think last year we did a somewhat of a joint retreat, if you will, with PPIC. We think now is the time to conduct such a retreat. So we are looking at your next meeting, which is October the 20th. We would have your standard meeting at 8 o'clock that morning. And then from 9 to 12, we would conduct the virtual retreat. Again, it will be virtual. But we think this is now the time to really look at the EDA and their desires and what they would like to do. So what we would like to have is, again, a strategic discussion about the EDA and you all's desires for redevelopment and economic development in the city. We would ask that if you all have any topics that you all would like to discuss, that you send those to us by close of business on Friday. And as we gather that information, we will then put together an agenda and forward that agenda to you as part of your packet for the October 20th date. But I would say set your calendar and your time and set aside time from 8 to 12. It may not go that long. Virtual doesn't seem to go that long, but 8 to 12 will give us enough time to have a broad discussion about the Economic Development Authority and where we want to go. Questions?
Thank you, Robert. And just to the other members, if there's something that's really you want to see on agenda, and I would even start it right now. I know Kathy has some concerns about the website, and she'd emailed us and talked about it. You want to can you iterate on that a little more, Kathy?
Oh, yes, I was looking at all of our social media and I just sent a question out about who actually does the upkeep of it. Is that, the marketing department for Portsmouth, or does economic development actually have it itself? Like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of that. I mean, some are fantastic and some are just need some help. So I didn't know if marketing could play a part in that. I would think they would, and the website. So I didn't know also, and this would have been one of my questions, was the marketing plan for this year. I'm sure it's a little different with COVID, with your events and all of that. But if we could see that maybe before the retreat, just so that we have an idea of what's in it. But I think the marketing part of it is a big part, and I, just being new to it, also had questions on who handles it, because you do have a small staff. So I'm not sure how y'all handle updating Twitter, Facebook, the website, and LinkedIn on your own.
So I can answer that question without going too deep into it, but all of that is handled in-house by staff. More specifically, Ms. Jessica Biedenbaugh. So the rebrand, LinkedIn, Twitter, we do not have a Facebook page. That's that's something that's a little different. Economic development, we typically don't have a Facebook page because that's something you've really got to monitor because of comments and so on and so forth. But LinkedIn, Twitter, we also have an Instagram that I think we just kind of briefly touch on. But LinkedIn and Twitter are what we normally utilize, but that's all done in-house. We certainly utilize the marketing department to assist where they can, because they do handle the city's Facebook page and so forth. But all of that is done in-house, as well as update and upkeep of the website. Certainly, we have a small staff, and we hopefully by the 20th, we plan to have 2 new members on the team by the 20th of October, which is a great time again for the retreat. But we are a small staff, and we have someone dedicated, again, Ms. Beatenball, to make sure that this stays relatively updated with information.
Okay, thank you. No, on LinkedIn, I see it. She's all over it. I do see that. So great job to her on that.
And quick question about the marketing piece. So when you say you would like to see the marketing, could you go a little deeper into that?
Do you have, well, I'm just accustomed to, I mean, do you have like your marketing or business plan for the year on where you're putting your advertising plan, your marketing events that are broken down by, segments, who you're going after, where you're going after?
So we will provide most of that information.
Okay.
I say that because a lot of that information we don't want to have out. Keep in mind that your meeting is public. So your retreat will be public. So certainly we can provide the target sectors, let me say it that way. And we can talk about some of the planned marketing activities and travel and such and so forth at the retreat. But kind of who, what, and that deeper dive, that would have to be a something separate, maybe in a closed session because of competition.
Yes, completely understand that.
And Robert, can I just go back a minute to Facebook and I understand and everybody understands the world of Facebook, and a lot of times it can be a dumping ground, and it can be really not worth the time at times, but it is a very large platform. So I'm just trying to understand, we feel that you feel that it's maybe not professional or to the level of LinkedIn and others that we just you would want to stay away from that. Is that's your sentiment?
Yes, sir. I think the city has a Facebook page, and the marketing team has done a great job in making sure that that stays up to date, and then working with us when there's an opportunity and a need to have information sent out. For example, the 15,000 people that just received the COVID grant information. That's a great way for us to work together to get that out. But more specifically from a business standpoint, and getting information out quickly and shared that we need to reach that target audience that we're really trying to reach, which are those business leaders and so forth. For us, LinkedIn and Twitter are really the industry standards, if you will, for making that happen. I think with the city having its own Facebook page, I think we're duplicating efforts. And, certainly at times there may be some opportunity and a need to do that. But I think just from our standpoint, LinkedIn and Twitter, maybe a little bit of Instagram is what our focus should be. And again,
Any other members? Excuse me. Any other members have any thoughts? On that. Just want to make sure we all on the same page.
Well, the only thought that I have is, have we done an analysis of the businesses to determine where they go for information, and make sure that we're putting our advertising where they're going to? I'm not a big LinkedIn person, but I would think that we would want to send our traffic to the Economic Development Authority website as the primary source of information. So I'm just wondering, when we do LinkedIn, Instagram, if we go to Facebook, are we hooking them back to try to get them to go back to Economic Development Authority? Or based on your analysis, the feeling is that LinkedIn and Instagram satisfies that need? So I guess my basic question is, have we done any analysis of businesses to determine where they go to find information?
Yes. Yes, we have. And the goal of all of our social media is to drive individuals to the economic development website. So everything that is posted in some way, shape, or form circles back to the economic development website, or if it's something that is city related, the city's website, because we're trying to drive traffic to where that information is going to be. So for example, even the post that was just sent out by marketing drives individuals to the economic development website, even though that post went from the city to the 15,000 emails. So we have done that analysis initially as we really look at what we have, where do we put our dollars from a marketing standpoint as an office. And again, that's in conjunction with, and we'll take a deeper dive into this in October, but our office takes direction from the city manager's office and certainly city council. So we have to look at, as we're putting our best foot forward and we're putting our dollars in places and things of that nature, we're really looking at and making sure that we're meeting the goals and objectives of city council. And at the same time, marketing the city in the proper way. At this point, again, we feel that from a social media standpoint, LinkedIn, Twitter work best in conjunction with interim city manager Pace and his team in marketing in their Facebook and other outreaches.
So are you saying that we're seeing an uptick in viewer page reviews on the EDA website? I mean, are you able to go back and say, here's where we were 2 months ago in terms of the number of people who are coming to the website, and we've seen X amount of increase or decrease? Is that the kind of information you're able to provide?
Yes, sir.
Robert, I can't remember specifically, but does the EDA provide any financial support for the marketing efforts of your office?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, our marketing budget is determined by myself and staff, along with the finance department when we do our annual budget. So the dollars that we are speaking of come directly out of the department budget. But again, we'll take a deeper dive in October.
Okay, all right. I hope everyone have had an opportunity just to express, that, but we can, as Robert said, we can, address these matters again at our retreat. So having been said, Robert, I guess we can move on.
I had one question. Did you say they had to be in by this Friday? Or suggestions, topics?
Yes, ma'am. By close of business this Friday.
All right, I just wanted to make sure.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, and we do have a need to go into closed session. Mr. Mitchell, you have the.
I move to go into closed electronic meeting pursuant to Virginia Code subsection 2.2-3711 A.3 and 2.2-3708.2 A.3 and City Council Ordinance 2020-21 for the purpose of discussing the disposition of real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specifically regarding the Entertainment District, North Pier, GPDC Properties, 800 block of High Street, and 2700 block of Turnpike Road.
We need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. All right, roll call vote. Mr. Barber.
Aye.
Ms. Drury.
Yes.
Mr. Kovacic.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
and Chairman Smith.
Yes.
All right, we are in closed session. So what we will need you to do is, again, go out of this link, go to the closed session link, and we'll see you there in about 5 minutes.
So,
All right, Mr. Mitchell, if you can read us back into open session.
Okay. I hereby move that each commissioner certify that to the best of his or her knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded.
I need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. All right, for the vote, Mr. Barber,
Aye.
Ms. Drury,
Yes.
Mr. Kovacic,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith,
yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
and Chairman Smith.
Yes.
All right, we are in open session. Now we need to take a vote for the casino development traffic agreement. And actually, I think for rules of order, we need to have a motion, a second, and then a discussion if you like.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Need a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Barbara Smith. Chair, this is typically where you would say any discussion of the motion.
Yeah, you can say it too, but yes, if there are any questions.
Okay, so if you don't mind, Chair will take the vote. Okay,
Yes.
Mr. Barber,
Yes.
Ms. Drury,
Yes.
Mr. Kovacic,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, now we need a vote on the properties at Turnpike Road, 2701, 2709, and 2715 Turnpike Road. Need a motion.
I move for the acceptance of the projects on Turnpike Road.
Thank you, Ms. Saunders Smith.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Drury. Any discussion of the motion? All right, hearing none, we'll go for the vote. Mr. Barber,
Aye.
Ms. Drury,
Yes.
Mr. Kovacic,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Smith.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Final vote is for the development agreement of the North Pier.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Need a second.
Yeah.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Any discussion of the motion? Okay, Mr. Barber,
Aye.
Ms. Drury,
Yes.
Mr. Kovacic,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Barbara Smith,
Yes.
and Chairman Smith. Chairman Smith?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
just want to make sure. All right, that motion carries as well. We have nothing else on the agenda. Just want to remind you all to send your topics for the retreat by close of business on Friday. We have nothing else, Chair.
Okay. I want to thank everybody once again and encourage you also to, if you do have any concerns, don't hesitate to email Robert or Brian. You know, they have nothing else to do. So
Not
it's
at all.
go ahead and shoot them email or call them if you have any concerns or for discussion. We don't all want to do it at one time, but you know, you certainly can do it as individual members. But again, thank you very much for your cooperation and the great questions and the discussions that we have. And I'm very optimistic about, you know, things in the city, regardless of the news and what's happening. We're gonna get through. But I see so much potential, like I know a lot of you do. We just need to continue to hold it together. And believe it or not, you know, folks, some of it's good in a sense because it's putting us on the map nationally, and we're getting a lot of attention. But because of our location and what we have to offer here, being on the water in the port area, you know, we're good attraction, and so that's still consistent, you know, and there's still a lot of interest, and I'm pleased and optimistic about it. So thanks again, and I will dangerously say if someone else has a passing thought or comment.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I had one thought from earlier in the agenda. Has there been any progress made on procuring an accounting firm to do our, financials?
So I believe we discussed at the last meeting quickly. We're finalizing and making sure that we're crossing every T and dotting every I. But in speaking with Cherry Beckert and with finance, right now, and we're going to have some more information for you in October, but the way that the entities are kind of together, when I say entities, the city and the EDA are bound together, more specifically by the transaction that happened with the Victory Village site. Right now, it is not advantageous to do the separate finance firm or CPA firm. We are working with finance, and they have made a commitment to make sure going forward that we have the necessary documentation every month. That is also, I would anticipate that's going to be a recommendation by by Cherry Beckert as well, as far as the audit is concerned. But right now, based off of that transaction and others, the way we are intertwined with the city, that may not be as advantageous as we thought.
I just have a concern that we're not getting, up regular financial statements.
Certainly.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully we can get past this too. Maybe when things clear up, maybe in the next year we can revisit it again. I agree with you, Neil. I think that's something we still need to pursue. Any other comments? Okay, with that said, then I'll call this meeting to adjournment, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.